Welcome back, everybody. I hope you're all doing really well. I've been promising to make a video looking at all of these guitars that I have here in my studio, and I think there is no better time than now for some slow TV. So I'm going to show you guys not all of these guitars, but some of my favorites, and I'll kind of tell you some stories about how I acquired them as well. Let's go. All right, let's get started with number one. If you're a regular to the channel, you'd be very familiar with this guitar. This is my 2008 PRS SC245. This is the main guitar I use for just about everything, including all the ragdoll stuff. If you've heard our album Back to Zero and you've heard the two latest singles that we've done, it's this guitar for basically everything. And my main live rig at the moment is this guitar through the Fractal FM3, which I'm also using for all the tones in this video. Now, I get asked a lot about the pickups that I have in this guitar. They are the stock pickups that came with the guitar. In fact, everything is stock on the guitar except for the machine heads. I swapped them out for a set of Rubato SD90s, which are locking machine heads, but they don't look like locking machine heads. So I'm going to give you a quick little tour through some of the sounds. We'll start off with a clean sound on the neck pickup. So I really like that neck pickup tone. You can hear this guitar, it's not super jangly. That's probably also because of the tuning I keep this in. I keep it in drop C. But the reason I have this guitar and the reason it works so well for the ragdoll stuff is, you know, when you add gain, especially high gain, it's so articulate. That's the only way I can describe this guitar. When you strum out like a big complicated chord with a lot of gain, you can really hear every note, and it just feels good and sounds good. It's like the perfect Cinderella slipper guitar for me. Yeah, that is totally my happy place with this guitar. My number two guitar is another PRS. I'll just tastefully turn around here and hopefully grab it. You guys would have also seen this guitar a lot. This is my PRS McCarty, and it's had a few more mods than usual. I bought this guitar sight unseen from eBay. It actually was, I bought two guitars off somebody for a real steal. I got a Hamer Sunburst with it as well, and I really wanted the Hamer at the time, but this guitar arrived and it was just magical. Such a great guitar. One piece maple top. It's not overtly crazily flamed. One piece mahogany back, one piece neck, which is pretty cool. It's had a new nut installed by Tim Thompson at MT Guitars. It has the same Rubato SD90 tuners on it, and it has a set of Fishman Fluence classic humbuckers in it. I did a video about those recently. Let's hear some clean and some crunch with this guitar. Again, I'll run through the pickup options, and yes, the switch is upside down on this guitar. You can hear it's kind of a little bit spankier. It sounds a little bit better for clean stuff and mid-gain stuff, actually. I like this with the AC20 model in the Axe FX3. You get this. and with the Atomica model, it's kind of like a really lovely brown sound style amp. So I dig this guitar. I've also played this guitar a lot. This would be the guitar that I grab if I needed to do like a classic rock or kind of a rock cover gig rather than the single cut. The single cut is almost exclusively reserved for doing all the Ragdoll original stuff because it's just such a character guitar, whereas this one can be a little bit more versatile. I have a couple of other PRS guitars as well. There's one that I want to show you guys that is particularly special to me. I'm going to pull it off the wall right now and unplug this. Segway. This was my first PRS, and you know, I was so fortunate to grow up in a household where music was just part of everyday life. My dad is a great guitar player. You know, not a day goes by and not a day went by as a kid where I didn't hear him playing and singing and just kind of making music. And when I was 17 and I was like really getting into music, he bought this guitar home, and he kind of told me the little story that it belonged to a friend of his and the friend was going away, and you know, he had to look after it for a while. And I remember playing it and literally playing it for 30 seconds, and it was the nicest guitar I had ever played in my life. And I said that, I was like, this is the nicest guitar I've ever played in my life. And he said, well, that's a good thing because I bought it. And this was, yeah, you know, I basically annexed this guitar from him immediately and played it so much. And yeah, I mean, it's so beaten up and I've played it so much. All the frets are totally worn out. I haven't been playing it much recently because of that. It definitely needs a refret and a service. But yeah, it occupies a very special place in my heart. And it always makes me think of my dad, which is one of the special things about music because realistically speaking, he's probably been the biggest musical influence in my life. When I was growing up, I just always associated guitar with my dad, and this guitar always makes me think of him. It's got a push-pull little thing on here, and it's got a PRS McCarty humbucker in the neck and a Seymour Duncan Custom 5. So the way I like to use it is for clean stuff, tap the pickups, use the neck pickup. But then for high gain stuff, kind of swap over to the bridge pickup in full humbucker mode. Yeah, in many respects, this is kind of the guitar I learnt to really play guitar on, because when I got it, it was one of those things where, you know, I couldn't make the excuse that the particular instrument was holding me back anymore. This guitar is just immaculate. It plays so well. Well, it doesn't play as well as it used to, like I said, because the frets are so worn, but it still feels pretty good. It's a really special guitar in that respect. So this is, yeah, the Blue Custom 24. If you saw Ragdoll on our European tour a couple of years ago, this is the guitar that I use for all the shows, and it was so fun to play that guitar live. It's a lot lighter than my single cut, and yeah, it kind of feels like it's not even there, especially when you play it live. So there we go. That's my Custom 24. Let's move over to, what should we do? This is another guitar that I play a lot. I'll show you some of my Strats, particularly the Malmsteen Strat that I've got. You guys would see this guitar a lot on my demos, and it's the main guitar I use when I'm teaching as well, just because it keeps me honest. It's a little bit harder to play than some of my other guitars. It is fully scalloped, which, you know, the kind of myth is that scalloping it helps you play faster. It doesn't. It's just a different kind of feel, different suspension, as I like to call it. And it's kind of weird because I call it a Malmsteen Strat, but the body is a Warmoth body, a Swamp Ash body in Mary Kay White. So you can't go and buy a Malmsteen Strat like this. But all the rest of the stuff, I bought the neck and the pickups and, yeah, basically the neck and the pickups and the hardware on the neck off somebody locally. Got it for an absolute steal, and I had the body kicking around, put it together. I had Tim at MT replace the brass nut with just a bone nut, and it is one of my favorite guitars for clean stuff. Anytime I have to do like a funk gig or something, I take this guitar. I don't use it as a ridiculous over-the-top heavy metal guitar. I use it as my clean, funky guitar, and it sounds great for that stuff. So I really like it for that mid-gain grit kind of stuff. With some high gain, it's still really, really cool. And I actually find it really hard to do the Yngwie thing on this guitar, but you know, I got to try, don't I? We'll stop that right there. That's the worst Malmsteen impression that you're going to hear today. But it's surprising because the pickups are so mellow. You really got to crank the gain on your amp or on the modeler in this case to really get the most out of it. But yeah, it's a really, really fun guitar to play. It feels great. It stays in tune, and it is wonderful for clean and edge breakup stuff. The other Strat that is particularly dear to my heart is this one. This old beast. This is a 1977 Strat. I've replaced the pickups with some Sir ML pickups. It's had a full stainless refret and a new nut. Again, thank you to Tim at MT Guitars for his excellent work there. He's helped bring a lot of my guitars back to life. So this one is way more Stratty than that guitar. Like, you hear it on the neck pickup and it has some stank about it. That's not a clean sound. This is. Yeah, again, another great guitar for the kind of mid-gain stuff. Like I said, it's a lot more wiry than that guitar, which is just so mellow. This one actually has a little bit of attitude going on. So there's two Strats that I love to play. I'm going to show you one of my favorite sounding guitars. This is my go-to P90 guitar. It is a Hamer Special. So I was just talking about guitars with attitude. This guitar has got some definite attitude. It's basically just a Les Paul Special. Locking machine heads on there. These are Klusons. And I bought this guitar off eBay. It was one of those things where it's had a broken headstock, so it was heavily discounted. It's a USA-made Hamer from '93, I believe. And, you know, I bid like some stupid amount, like $300 or $400 on it. And I won it. And I was like, oh, God, what am I going to do with this guitar? Is it going to be any good? And when it arrived, it was very, very good. So apart from the locking machine heads, again, totally stock. And for kind of gritty stuff, this thing is so cool. This guitar makes you work for it. I love this with a big, thick lead sound that might sound really smooth with the PRS. Still kind of sounds ganky with this guitar. Really, really cool stuff. So actually, probably 2013, 2014, I was playing this guitar live a lot for ragdoll stuff. It's just got a really cool character about it. I can probably see this guitar down here because speaking of guitars with character, 70s, oh, actually I think it's like a 70, I date it to maybe 77 or 78. It's a 335. It's the ugliest color in the world, but it's kind of cool. It's a cool ugly in my opinion. This guitar I've recorded with a lot. If you go and listen to any of the Ragdoll EPs, Here Today, All I Want, there's a bunch of it on Back to Zero. This guitar is just a character guitar with some high gain. I'll play that same patch. I don't even know what tuning this is in at the moment. It's got its own thing going on. There's like basically no frets on it, so it's pretty hard to play. It has this weird toggle switch on it, which acts as a coil tap, which is kind of cool. I'll give you guys some of that AC20 with this guitar, because I think that is one place where this coil tap really, really shines. Really, really cool guitar. I love this guitar with a fuzz pedal into a really small amp, like an Orange Tiny Terror or something like that, to thicken up big riffs. It's kind of like a secret weapon that we've used a lot in the studio. And this is a guitar that I played the solo to the song Self-Censored on. If you want to go and listen to that, all the Ragdoll stuff is available online. That's one of my favorite solos that I've ever played. Okay, talking about rare, weird guitars. This guitar is a Les Paul Artist from, I think, 1980, 79, 80, 81, something like that. It's got this massive cavity at the back where it was filled with electronics. Gibson had bought Moog and they decided to incorporate them into the R&D Artist. You know, think of the band Ghost, well known for using those. It had all these onboard switches and electronics. The way this guitar was acquired, somebody had tried to install a Carla Tremolo. My screen is going on screensaver. I don't want that. Yeah, so they hacked out a bunch of the top. It was just totally beaten up. So this guitar has had a very, very rough life. Basically, all the hardware's been stripped on it. It's the neck has been stripped back as well and refinished with oil, which is really nice. New frets, again, thanks Tim at MT Guitars. Had a brass nut, now it's got a bone nut. It's got some Martin A. Smith pickups in it, which I would really recommend checking out. Buddy of mine from Perth, and it's got a Stetsbar trem. This is just a really cool sounding Les Paul. It's kind of in between a standard and a custom. And it's got a really kind of sweet clean tone as well. Really wonderful PAF style pickups in that one. Another very cool Les Paul, and you're probably going to hear a car driving past at this second. It just seems to be the thing to do on a Saturday night in Perth. Drive your souped up car around my house. Anyway, this is an awesome, awesome Les Paul. It's a 2002 Standard Premium Plus. It's got the custom tape mod on it that everyone asks about, and it has the upside down toggle switch that I'm so renowned for. Similar to that guitar, all the hardware's been stripped off it. Martin A. Smith humbuckers, which are awesome. I've got it wired up with a master volume and a master tone. These two controls are just for show. And again, Goto SD90s on it. I love this guitar. It's kind of, you know, for those moments when you just need that classic Les Paul sound, this has it in spades. AC20, then Atomica. it's kind of got that telly on steroids thing that really good Les Pauls have. And yeah, it's I mean, it's a good Gibson. If you find a good Gibson and you want that sound, you know, it's kind of a truism that really only they do it. But I'll show you a guitar which isn't a Gibson, which does that thing very well. It's my STR LJ1, which is made in Japan. I got the toggle switch up the wrong way around. That's just kind of becoming the new normal for me. So I got this guitar probably about 2 years ago now. I got turned on to them by a friend of mine. They're just immaculate, basically vintage Les Paul style guitars. I was lucky enough to go to the Divisor. That's the company who make these guitars, and this is their STR brand. I went to their factory and they were kind enough to show me around how they make the guitars. There's like no CNC or anything in there. They make the Bacchus guitars and the Momose guitars as well. Awesome. It's so well put together and just so kind of tightly fitted. It's a pleasure to play. This is the STR LJ1, totally stock, except for the pickup selector being upside down. Very, very nice stuff. It has a slightly different voicing to the other single cut style guitars that I have. What should we do next? Let's look at some of the Hamers, because I love Hamer guitars, and I've got two really cool ones that I want to show off. I know I already showed off my Hamer Special, but I'll show you my Standard and I'll show you my Californian. All right, Hamer Californian, 27 frets of American-made goodness. And I just broke a string. So there you go. I don't know if I can do anything with this guitar anymore. I'm going to leave that in the video because I think that's really funny, and I'm going to grab my Standard and we'll look at some of the kind of weird pointy guitars that I've got. That's a shame. Hamer Standard also from 2008, like my PRS. Pretty good year. Duncan EVH, Duncan Jazz. Let's just roll with the high gain, shall we? And this has quite a nice kind of rootsy clean sound on the neck pickup. I say clean sound, rootsy clean. Edge of breakup thing with the Vox. The kind of clean sounds are quite nice on the neck pickup too. There we go, that's the Hamer Standard. There's two other pointy guitars that I want to show to you guys. There is a Dean V, which I was sent recently by Dean. It's made in Indonesia. I'll grab it. It's one of the newer Dean models. For me, this is just the guitar that I play when I want to pretend to be Michael Schenker. Is going to kill me if I don't include this guitar because she got this. There you go. She is. Send help. Send help. But she gave me this guitar for my birthday a couple of years ago. It's a Danelectro Sitar. That's got the mute bridge, it's got the drone strings, and it sounds really cool with lots of delay and reverb. Desert Yellow, RG550, an original one. If you want to kind of have a Jem but not have a Jem, this is the guitar to use. If you want to try to be Paul Gilbert, this is the guitar you have to use as well. Gigantic frets, super slim neck, it just kind of plays itself. I should play this guitar more, but you know, I need to block up the trem because I'm not a Floyd or an Edge guy. I generally just don't use them, but out of all the kind of floating trem guitars that I have, this is probably the most comfortable one. Let's take a look at another, I guess, Super Strat. This is a guitar my dad made, and he built this originally. He has a Roland VG8, and he mounted the GK pickup in it back in the 90s, and again, I kind of annexed it, put a Tone Zone and an Air Norton in it, and this guitar is another rude sounding 80s guitar. I think the switch is upside down too, and I hope it's on. It's almost impossible to get a clean sound with this guitar. Like, here's the clean patch. I mean, it's not bad, but it really is a guitar designed for that 80s high gain kind of thing. And I have a Peavey Wolfgang as well, which kind of rounds out the selection of shredder guitars, if you like. I'll pull that one down. And this guitar has the elusive googly eye mod. Look at it. It's just kind of staring at you. You can hear the autofocus on the camera, and you can hear my cat eating food as well. But yeah, this is, I mean, it just works. It's a brown sound guitar. You can tell I don't do much tapping, but there's my terrible tribute to Van Halen. One more guitar that I'm going to show you guys, and this is a guitar that I have got on a loan, but I really need to give these guys a shout out because it's such a cool guitar. It is the Rubato Lassi from South Africa. look at this thing, it's like even thinner than an Ibanez S series, and it's a carbon fiber guitar with a maple fretboard. Honestly, one of the most effortless guitars I've ever heard to play. It's got mini humbuckers in there. It's a really bright sounding guitar. It's kind of, I described it as like the Telecaster from hell when I did a video with it. Looks like a vintage guitar as well, unless you notice the carbon fiber pattern. It's not this kind of weird, you know, space shuttle looking thing, which I really, really like. But there's a really, really cool guitar. I've had it here for a couple of months, and yeah, it's going to be hard to give it back when I have to do that, because it sounds great, it plays great, and they're definitely a company to look out for. So shout out to you guys at Rubato Guitars, because this is really, really cool. I said there was going to be one last guitar, but I got to show you guys the double neck. I've done a video with it. This is a Gibson double 12 replica that my dad made. Such a cool story. He saw this guitar in a book, so he blew up, he photocopied the book to like the right size, copied as much of it as he could just by looking at the pictures, and it's pretty darn cool. I just wish he put his own name on it, because it's a truly unique instrument, and you know, maybe I can just modify it with some tape or something like that. So I'm gonna say thank you guys so much for watching this totally self-indulgent video. Thank you for letting me you know, put all the little pins in the history of my mental illness of, you know, acquiring gear that I probably don't need. But then again, I'm preaching to the choir here. We all do this. Guitars are wonderful, living, breathing works of art, and I'm going to play you guys out with this double neck. Stay safe, be good to one another.